movies. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to... I'm going to start that one over. I fumbled. I ate Blockbusting. That's the name of the fucking podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me, once again, in a much cooler, more temperate setting with... We got air conditioning, we got lights, we got interns, we got him back. It's Yourgo Artsitas.
How's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Dude, it's good to have you back. Because this time, I feel like I'm not trying to change your mind on a movie. Like last time when you talked about Swiss Army Man.
Yes, when I was right about Swiss Army Man.
You were wrong about Swiss
I
Army Man.
remember
You
that.
were so egregiously wrong, and I convinced you to watch the movie again, which you did not watch, and I'm very disappointed.
Well,
in
now
you.
I have to because of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
I am obligated to watch it again, and maybe my stubbornness will subside, but I doubt it.
I fucking hope it does. Because
Okay.
you were so... I've never met somebody who was so wrong about a movie than you were about Swiss Army Man.
Oh, man.
Swiss Army Man.
I don't even think you're that big of a fan of Swiss Army Man. You just advocate its existence.
Swiss Army Man's in my top 20 movies.
No, it isn't.
I mean,
really?
it might not be anymore because of Everything Everywhere All at Once bumping its way into the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Dude, Swiss Army Man is like an all-time great. It's so crazy good. Blew me away.
Okay, well.
But we're not here to talk about Swiss Army Man. We're not here to relitigate that argument.
Certainly not.
We are here to find common ground about the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes.
The Nic Cage movie.
The Nic Cage movie that has nothing to do with actual Nic Cage except for his name.
I guess.
I mean, this is my...
It's pretty paint by numbers.
Yes.
It's a script that I could have seen coming from a mile away. I knew basically what was going to happen around most of the turns.
Yeah. I didn't see it having such a generic type of storytelling device of like, hey, Pedro Pascal is going to end up being the good guy. He's going to have to get his family back, and it's all about his biggest role at the end is the most dangerous one, to get his daughter back. Like, Nic Cage doesn't even have a daughter.
I mean, if you're going to do the meta thing, you don't need to have a complex storytelling device on top of that. I feel like you got to keep it as simple as possible.
I disagree. I think adaptation is a good example of making it as complex as humanly possible.
Yeah, but
and it's still working.
that's a different guy. That's a fucking Charlie Kaufman.
I know, and we should aspire to be Charlie Kaufman. What are we talking about here? I think
If you want to aspire to be if you don't deserve Charlie Kaufman as adaptation, then you definitely don't deserve him as Anomalisa. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah. I think he's one of the most interesting filmmakers. I'm not like a devotee of Charlie Kaufman per se. I'm a devotee of adaptation. I think that movie rocks.
I gotta watch that movie again. I did like adaptation.
It's real good.
I enjoyed it. I am more of a fan of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Who's not? And Synecdoche, New York, also a great movie.
The movie nobody can pronounce. It's a real
Schenectady.
Schenectady.
But this movie is... It sure was a movie. That's my take. I watched it. I was like, yeah, this is fun. I'm never going to watch it ever again.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for me is that I did not think that I was as big of a fan of Nic Cage as I am, because I'm not like one of these people who I'm like, I got to go see him. Let's go see, The Sorcerer's Apprentice or Bangkok Dangerous or all these other ones where you just get to get the wild.
What, you weren't clamoring to go see Willy's Wonderland?
Willy's Wonderland? No.
You weren't banging down the cinema door to go check out Next or Knowing?
No. Next, though, I think I might have piqued my interest for a half second while I watched it as like a commercial on MTV in between Next and Dismissed. But I would say that there is a massive amount. This is not a pun in any way, but there's a massive amount of terrific movies that are just thrown by the wayside to hit this kind of weird trope they have of Nic Cage being this washed up, past his prime kind of guy. Like, they just deliberately didn't say anything about Pig, didn't say anything about adaptation, didn't really say anything about Leaving Las Vegas, all of these like really interesting roles that he's
Didn't
had.
say anything about Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Is that a movie or is that him being crazy?
No, that's a movie.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
incredible Nick Cage. It's one of the the pantheon of Nick Cage.
This is what I'm saying.
performances.
I'm not a huge like completist. That's Zac Efron for me. I got to watch everything Zac Efron's been in. Not old Nicolas Cage.
It's crazy that they made a Mandy reference in this movie and they didn't make a pig reference. Now that I think about it,
Insanity. They make two Mandy references.
I mean, sure, I guess Pig came out last year, and they probably were shooting this during last year, and I don't know if they anticipated Pig becoming a big old hit.
Yeah.
The way it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was a big hit. I think it was more just like the
In
positive
terms of,
sentiment going back towards Nick Cage.
in the indie sense.
Yes.
Right.
Maybe a nom. It was bummer he didn't get nominated for a Golden Globe or an Oscar.
I know.
He was very good, and that was a very good movie, and I'm excited to see what that guy does next. But whoever directed this movie, I wish I would have looked it up.
Tom Gormican.
Tom Gormican is a writer-director guy? Is
He
he
wrote
Bada Bing Bada Boom?
He co-wrote this with who did he co-write this with? This is why we got a billboard over there now. Hello. He co-wrote this. He directed it. Obviously, it stars Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal, Ike Barinholtz, Tiffany Haddish, Sharon Horgan. Loved Sharon Horgan in this.
I love her in everything she's
Great
been
in everything she's in.
But it's fucking ridiculous that she's in this movie. Like, Nick Cage has famous ex-wives, and she's just this generic person. Nick Cage has gone out with, I think it was Patricia Arquette, married Elvis's daughter. And if you look at
Lisa Marie Presley. That's right.
and if you look at the timeline,
Kevin Etten is who he co-wrote it with.
Kevin Etten.
Yes.
I'll remember that if he's ever in front of me at a Starbucks.
Anyway, back to the Nick Cage relationship timeline.
So Lisa Marie Presley.
Yes.
I believe it was Lisa Marie Presley. They broke up in 2004. Now, based on this timing of this movie, it's the 16th birthday of the daughter. There's a world where this is Elvis's granddaughter, right? That lady.
Yeah.
If you were to follow the actual timeline.
And Francis Ford Coppola's grandniece.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you're cooking.
What a combo.
Yeah,
You're really
that's
cooking up some
nepotism that Suri
celebrity-
Cruise couldn't even touch.
Oh,
you know,
boy, oh, boy.
Yeah, that's another thing they didn't touch on is the fucking nepotism. I couldn't believe it. It made me so mad. The entire time, a huge aspect of Nicolas Cage is that his dad is uncle? Uncle is Francis Ford Coppola?
Yeah.
And he changed his name to Nick Cage because he was a huge Marvel fan and he didn't want to have that nepotism roots sewn in for his entire career.
Right.
They never touch it, never even talk about it, which I find to be a very interesting factor in his celebrity because he overcame that. He's his own fucking thing now. He's just a cartoon character.
I think it's so interesting because I feel like, I mean, you hated this movie. I watched it yesterday, and I was like, this is enjoyable. I had a decent time watching it.
Yes. And that's why I hate it.
But I think that I came away from it with like a different way that they looked at Cage. The way I interpreted it was different than the way you seem to have.
Yes.
Which is not that they're like Nick Cage is washed up. I think that they were really leaning into the Nick Cage is a weird guy, which is the fucking lowest hanging fruit that you can possibly do. As if you're gonna make a commentary on Nicolas Cage, just being like, man, he sure is weird, isn't he?
Yeah, but what they
He's a weirdo. He says he's nouveau shamanic and all this other stuff that I don't understand.
But I wanted them to lean it because they made it very nebulous in that way. I wish they would have like really hit into the specific examples of him being super fucking weird.
Agreed.
Yes, and he's like,
instead of just being like he's a weird guy, isn't he? They should have been like, this guy bought a fucking cursed house in New Orleans.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like that's a big deal, and now he has to pay taxes on it, which he never fucking paid for, and that's why he's in all these fucking movies.
This
They
guy
say he
bought
got
an island.
Substantial debts. Get the fuck out of here. He
bought-
bought a tomb in New Orleans.
Yeah, he bought a tomb. He bought? I know he has an island that he sold. I know he has some sort of a dinosaur skeleton.
Oh no, I know he had to sell the 1938 A1 Superman comic or whatever he had.
That's right.
He's got a memorabilia, very Charlie Sheeny.
A small collection of castles.
A small collection of.
2 albino king cobras.
That's not. I mean, you can get that at the bazaar for real cheap.
Dinosaur
Know that
skull.
guy.
That's what the thing was.
Shrunken heads.
An array of shrunken heads.
See now, it's like I don't. How much does a shrunken head cost? You know, because if it's a famous shrunken head, then we're cooking.
Famous shrunken head.
I don't know. Like I don't want just some generic shrunken. I remember Goosebumps when I think of shrunken heads.
Oh yeah, that's
the
what I think
Goosebumps
of.
books. But how cool would it be is like not only do you have a shrunken head, but that shrunken head is like in the face of Joan Rivers or something like that. You know, it's like just some other like dead person where you're like, oh wow,
Oh yeah, we got Joan Rivers' shrunken head.
We got she's still there.
I
That's
got
actually
Gilbert Gottfried's shrunken head sitting on my countertop, and
Yeah.
I am excited about it.
That's actually, I'm going to be honest with you, not a bad idea
Not a
for
bad
like
idea.
merchandise, and you squeeze it and it goes Affleck or something like that. I don't mind that. I think, yeah.
So, but you're a big Nic Cage fan, as it turns out, which you didn't realize until you watched this movie. Really.
I think I'm aware too much of him, and that that really threw me for the movie, because the movie could have been so much better and so much leaned in more to the meta stuff, and they just were like, nah, fuck it, we're going to make an action comedy that's not funny. And I did not like that. And it was just completely generic. You have Pedro Pascal, who is the fucking best. I think it is like almost illegal what they've done with The Mandalorian, where this guy, who is the most charismatic actor I've seen in a long time, I think he's like Tom Hardy mixed with Paul Rudd. Did you watch The Bubble, that Judd Apatow movie?
I heard it was bad.
Just watch a compilation of just Pedro Pascal and you'll be good. Like he's terrific in that kind of zany, slapstick kind of character guy.
Sure.
He's awesome. He's awesome in this. He's just beaming. I love the guy. Happy that he's off doing the mask bullshit. And he's a really, really terrific part of the movie. That being said, his character fucking sucks. And the entire point of him is that he's just this impish, like, oh, I want to write a screenplay. By the way, this guy clearly lives in Spain, bro. You write pilots now in Hollywood. You don't write screenplays. You write pilots, and you have no idea where it's going, but you wrote 24 pages and hoping
We're
it's
going inside baseball.
Well, dude, the inside baseball shit in this, too, by the way, they talk about inside baseball shit, and I wish they would have leaned in a little bit harder. Because they'll be like, oh, you don't have to read for it. You know, they'll do like that kind of stuff. I don't know what AFTRA is. It might be some radio
It's something
thing.
away from the radio. Yeah, that was funny. I laughed at that.
Yeah, I like that. Packet full of that kind of stuff, where it's just kind of inside stuff. It just feels like everything was at the surface. And I read a thing about from the Hollywood Reporter where the studio made significant cuts of some of the weirder stuff on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were going to do like these weird black and white stuff that like hints back at Gone with 60 Seconds and hits back at Leaving Las Vegas. And they were like, no, that shit's too weird. Get the fuck out of here. It's like, oh, okay. Something that would have been compelling. The office suits decided to get rid of course.
Of course they fucking did.
No, I mean...
Because there's so much that is... Like, everybody knows who Nicolas Cage is, right? And I think that's why everybody wanted to go see this movie. And that's part of, I think, why people... I mean, this movie's got an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is egregiously high. Rotten Tomatoes, I have learned more and more, this year perhaps more than any other year, Rotten Tomatoes' scoring system is all fucking over the place.
Oh, it's gobbledygook garbage. What's the movie that made you turn?
I honestly, I couldn't even remember.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a movie... It's one of those movies that has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's not a 98%.
Was it Top Gun?
No.
Top
Top Gun
Gun-
Maverick has a 98%, and I would give Top Gun... I mean, I can see why Top Gun has a 98%.
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck it has.
It's terrific. It's movie Beyonce now, where you can't say anything bad about it, or else people be like, come on, dude, what's wrong with you?
Well, we did just had a podcast episode 2 weeks ago about it.
About,
Or I guess 3 weeks ago.
Have you gotten hate mail, death threats?
Not yet.
People cutting out magazines and sending you little...
I don't
little
know. I mean, our guest from that week delisted herself as a collaborator on all the videos, so maybe she was getting some untoward hate mail.
No.
Somebody do a wellness check on Alex Gavello.
Oh, man. I mean, people... Top Gun is a fine movie. I don't want to bitch about it. I want to bitch about this movie.
Because there's so much to bitch about with this movie because it doesn't feel like it pushes enough. You know, it does. You're exactly right. There's so much that it could have done that it left on the table, and even the praise that people are levying towards it. It's just. It seems like they're just like, yeah, Nic Cage made fun of himself. He's a good guy. I like him now. Why didn't you like him before?
He was fine.
He's great before.
Literally the only things that he's done. Well, I mean, now I'm going to say literally, and there's going to be like, oh, remember 1995 when he fucking did that. But like, literally the only thing that he does is spend too much money and have to owe money back, right? Like, is there anything that he does that's bad towards other people, or is he just kind of a self-sabotage kind of guy?
I think he's just a self-sabotage kind of guy.
I mean,
I
that's fine.
can't think of anything actively like. I can't think of any allegations that have ever been levied against him.
No.
I can't think of anything other than just like he spends too much money. He doesn't know how to manage his money. He's probably got some sort of like who knows, right? Some
Well-
sort of thing that's like, I'm going to go ahead and buy a dinosaur skull. I'm going to buy a tomb in New
fuck it.
Orleans.
And you know what's funny is he's right about all this shit. He was like, listen, if worst comes to worst, I'm gonna buy this shit because I'm an impulsive shopper, I guess. Worst comes to worst, I just can make another motherfucking movie and I'll make the money back. It doesn't matter. And that's what he's done, and people hate him for it. The only interesting part in this entire fucking movie is when he's talking to the therapist. The therapist, by the way, awful therapist. I don't know how she's doing celebrity. She's probably making $1,000 a fucking hour. And she's there with the fucking daughter and Nic Cage. And Nic Cage is like, oh, I want you to watch this German movie. And the girl's like, oh, I don't. You only watch movies you want to watch. Therapist, all the therapist got to do is like, hey, Nic Cage, do you mind watching Paddington 2 with your daughter? That's all they got to do. But instead, there's just this rife bullshit. Also, by the way, Nic Cage's daughter, who's not real, she started bitching about stuff in a way where it's like, I have no sympathy. You're fucking Nic Cage's daughter. You live in a mansion. I don't give a shit that you have to watch a good movie probably every once in a while with your fucking dad. Also, they go to the fucking birthday party, right? Nic Cage goes to the fucking birthday party.
Yes.
Everybody there is a teenager, right? I
Right.
would assume all of them have smartphones unless one of them is under restriction or something like that. They go there, they see fucking Nic Cage, and none of them pull out a phone?
They've seen him before. They know
No,
who he
dude.
is.
Famous
Nobody's-
parents always supersede.
What
There's also
context do you have for this?
There's always.
How many people? How many?
I will
how
tell you
many
right now.
famous teenagers' birthday parties have you gone to?
I've watched at least 100 of them on my Super Sweet 16 on MTV.
that is
at the very
that
fucking
is
least.
totally different. Way different time.
I would argue it's exactly the same.
The only reason that Nicolas Cage is going to get filmed at a birthday party is if he is doing some totally outlandish shit at the birthday party.
Like a song that he's riffing at the piano in
That's
the moment.
not that I don't think that's that outlandish. I think that's tracks for like drunk Nic Cage in the movie.
I suppose so, but I
It
also,
tracks.
I think that what is it called? I think one, not that many people would have cringed. I think that they would have thought that was an awesome moment. But also, that's just a dad shit to do, is to embarrass your daughter when she's 16.
See, this is what I'm saying though.
yeah, that's just some dad shit.
This is where we've got like we both don't like this movie,
Yes,
but we have different we got different takes on it.
yeah, that's fine.
We're
That's-
divergent.
That's how comprehensively bad this movie is.
We can
It really- it's got
we can
something for everybody
dislike
to hate.
totally different things about
Yeah.
this movie. I think let's talk about the actual like the plot of this movie, right?
Okay.
As thin as it is. Nic Cage has debt. We all know that. He gets asked to go to this rich guy played by Pedro Pascal's
Yes.
birthday party in Mallorca in Spain.
Yes.
And he's going to get paid $1 million, but then he gets sucked into a CIA plot because they think that Pedro Pascal is a weapons broker,
Yes.
underground illegal weapons trade. So they're like, you got to kill him, you got to do all this shit. And there's all this stuff where Nic Cage like is sort of recreating stuff from his movies. They bring in this younger Nic Cage, which
Yes.
also my least favorite part of this movie, I think, because it feels like they brought him in just to have the like highlight the he's such a weird guy again,
Yes.
without actually providing the substantive stuff that could have made that interesting. Instead of just him going, I'm Nic fucking Cage for a minute and a half.
Yes. I mean, that was the trailer moment, right? They were just like, which they actually fucking say, oh, that's a trailer moment in the movie.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you need a trailer moment.
Which is
I,
so fucking.
I mean, the whole thing is fucking I hate all the thing about him having an alter ego that he talks to. But the number one thing that I don't just hate in this movie, but in all of cinema, are fucking deepfakes. They are so bad. And I remember, I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, maybe, where they had Kurt Russell play like 30-year-old Kurt Russell. Was that
yeah.
it? And I was
think
like, this is
so.
going to fucking ruin movies. Like, it's going to ruin news and shit. And you're going to think that somebody, like a big leader, is going to fucking say, hey, we're at war and we're going to get that wrong.
Right.
But deepfakes in movies, that's my biggest issue. I'm very, very worried about them just being like, yeah, fuck it. We're going to make Willy Wonka and it's going to be Gene Wilder and it's going to look like shit.
It's gonna be a big problem.
Yes. Do you not hate deepfakes? Like, they're coming in every new movie now.
Yes.
It's driving me fucking insane. I don't like it. I don't like any of the CGI shit. I saw fucking the Multiverse of Madness yesterday, and I literally listened to a podcast while watching it because I was like, I don't need anything. It's just all colors. And then if somebody dies, guess what? Different fucking multiverse. Seems kind of convenient.
I haven't seen it yet, so no
Multiverse of
spoilers.
Oh, that there's a multiverse?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. The only multiverse I recognize is in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, which makes me very mad because they're going to keep doing this multiverse shit, and it's only good in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Did you like how I just did my own theme song just there? I hope you did. Jay here with a quick interruption. I don't have ads, so I'm going to advertise myself in the middle of this podcast. Why not? This is somewhere north of 300 episodes when you're listening to this. And golly gee, it has been a journey. And I appreciate you coming with me on that journey for this whole time that you've been here. Maybe you've been here from the beginning. Maybe you've been here since like an episode ago. I'm just glad you're here. But I do have to say this. We here at Blockbusting, and there's literally a we. Chorkin, come around to the other side of the camera so we can see. Look, guys, I got a staff now, all right? I got interns, okay? I got producers. I got stuff to handle here at the space that I record at and elsewhere. And I want to be able to pay these people. And I, unfortunately, do not make the kind of money to pay these people myself. And that's where I hope that you can come in. By supporting the Blockbusting Patreon. Yes, that's right. We've got a Patreon. I haven't plugged it in a bit, but I'm going to start plugging it heavy now, because why not? I want to pay these folks, all right? And you can support the podcast for just as low as $1 a month, all right? $1 a month goes back into the show. I'm not even paying myself. I don't care about paying myself for this podcast. I care about giving a little something back to the people who help me out, because I'm getting a lot of help from people these days. And they deserve a little something for their efforts beyond just my eternal thanks and gratitude, which they're going to get anyway. So you can subscribe for $1 a month. You start getting access to bonus content from me, like I'm posting episodes of my game show Wrong that I'm doing here in Los Angeles that I'm not posting to the public. I'll start posting bonus episodes of me talking about stuff again. What's Good with Jay Light, where I just talk about what I liked that I saw on the television and the internet and stuff these days, because that's how you do for Patreon. We still have the JFlix level, the $5 tier, where you can get access to my full film, television, comedy special library. That's just $5 a month. It's cheaper than pretty much every streaming service out there, except for, I guess, Apple TV is $5 a month. And they have Severance and Ted Lasso, so you really can't go wrong there. And they got Coda. I mean, Coda, what a delight. But you know what I've got? Xanadu. And nobody else has that. Pff, duh. I've got A Day Without a Mexican, Los Digits' least favorite movie. You listen to that episode, it's a great episode. But you just got to watch the movie, which I have on JFlix for $5 a month. I got a bunch of weird stuff. So go consider, please, subscribing to the Patreon for Blockbusting. The link is in the show notes. Or you can just go type into your little web browser right now, tippity-tap it into patreon.com/blockbusting. Again, that is patreon.com/blockbusting. And your support will go to helping me throw a little cash the way of the fine folks who help make this podcast happen. That's all I'm asking, is you throw me a little something so I can throw them a little something, okay? We're going direct, because, you know, this is like thoughts and prayers with guns. Like, saying thanks is only going to do so much. I want to give them cash, okay? At least buy them a coffee or something. So patreon.com/blockbusting. You can join and support for as little as $1 a month. And that's all there is, folks. Enjoy the rest of the episode. So, but Nic Cage in this movie, he does his thing. He has, you know, there's a shrine to Nic Cage. Oh, Pedro Pascal wants to, like, act with him and pretend that they have this thing. Oh, they do acid and write a movie together while they're on acid.
Yes.
It's like the most paint by numbers, boring way of telling a story that could have been interesting, and the only reason people are going to go watch it is because Nic Cage is in it, being
Yes.
Nic Cage.
That's
the only
marquee,
reason.
100%. And what's funny is people First off, not that many people saw it. It kind of bombed a little bit.
It did.
made like,
it got a 20. It had a $30 million budget. It made 20 million at the domestic box office.
and you couldn't even blame COVID for that because it was like after like the renaissance of like the Spider-Mans and the Batman. I think it came out the week after the Batman.
Yeah.
So that's it was just a bad movie, and I think other people said that it was a bad movie, but it was this weird thing where critics were just like, "Hey, an original idea," and Ike Barinholtz being loud. I like it.
This here's two top reviews.
Top
right?
reviews. You got to tell me who they're from, because if it's from like Wendy Loves Movies, every single one, I'm not going to be into it. But
Well, this is one I don't know who it's from, or I've never heard of the publication. Rather, Jim Slotek from Original Sin, spelled C-I-N, like cinema. You get it? This movie is both an exercise in self-mockery and a spoof of both Hollywood and the kind of movie Cage might take to pay the bills.
no, he wouldn't take this movie. If this movie was Nic Cage, but his name was Ted Alexander, I don't know.
Let's just pull a name out of that. If this guy's name was Gary
Colin?
Goldman,
then maybe it's he wouldn't. This movie is fucking. It reminded me of Snatched, right? Is that the movie with fucking Goldie Hawn? And,
and Amy Schumer.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, of just like a milquetoast. Hey, we're in trouble in a foreign land. We got to get out of here. Everything's bright.
Right.
No twist.
Another quote from good old Peter Travers of ABC News. Long time guy.
He's now at ABC News.
He's now at ABC
Oh
News.
no,
he's
Petey.
jumped around a bunch. Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage in this whacked out meta comedy that doesn't always hang together as a movie, but cements its gonzo star as the eighth wonder of the world when it comes to high wire acting without a net. What is high wire about this movie, Peter Travers?
Absolutely nothing.
What is Nic Cage doing in this movie that you haven't already seen him do to a greater effect and a more interesting degree in the other movies that Nic Cage has been in? I can't think of anything.
Well, to be fair, the way that I know Peter Travers is that there was an SNL sketch that they did, and one of the jokes that they did was, "I liked everything else, so I guess I like this one too." Peter Travers was the joke they had, and I was like, "All right, well, I got it, Peter." Because he's what is it called? He's a.
I mean,
are we gonna talk about Peter Travers now?
He's been a critic for a long time.
long time, but he doesn't
was,
have the cachet of like an Ebert or a Leonard
Manola
Maltin.
Dargis.
Yeah.
You know.
He's no Pauline Kael, old Petey Travs.
Oh, he's no A.O. Scott. I'll tell you what.
Oh, A.O. Scott's the best.
A.O. Scott. I love A.O. Scott.
What did A.O. Scott say? A fucking Unbearable.
I don't know. What did A.O. Scott say?
Did he Unbearable hate it?
I don't know if it was an A.O. or a Manola Dargis assignment, but we will find out what the New York Times sent. We do have some negative reviews, of course. Barry Hertz from the Globe and Mail said, "A cheap, crass, and ruthlessly sloppy skewering of celebrity culture that is barely a millimeter above the material it thinks it is so sharply satirizing. Gormachan's new film is the definition of disappointment." First of all, this guy loves alliteration.
That's my pen name. That was me.
Shout out to Barry Hertz.
That's 100% exactly how I feel. It is the epitome of my takeaway from this movie, is that it's trying to be smarter than what it fucking is. There's another movie called That Awkward Moment, which does the exact same thing.
Oh, I remember
with
that.
Miles Teller.
With Zac Efron too, right? Your boy.
And they try to be over this rom-com bullshit, and they're like, "Oh, rom-coms do this. No, we just fucking get pussy, dude. We got a roster full of pussy, and that's what we do." And at the end, they just fall right in for the rom-com bullshit.
I bet that's that awkward moment whenever you realize, oh, you're stuck in a rom-com that's generic.
Yeah, well.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're stuck in a rom-com where you have to do one of these lame Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, but not written by Nora Ephron things, where you're like, at the end, you're saying exactly what you feel in front of a whole bunch of people, and it's this demonstrative moment to have that person fall in love.
Where do they say that at in That Awkward Moment?
The lady, I think it's Imogen Heap. No,
That's
it's Imogen
a band.
Potts. Imogen Potts.
Imogen Poots.
Hey, what you say?
Do you know how to say anyone's name? Imogen.
Don't make me say Juno Temple.
Imogen
Don't make me do
Poots.
it.
See?
Imogen Poots. Yes, that was her. And she's like doing a poetry reading.
You're still saying Imogen.
Imogen Potts?
Imogen Poots.
I mean, that's just a combination of syllables. And as a person who's also just a combination of syllables, I don't know.
I blame it on the Brits. I think she's British. Where's she from? Imogen Gay Poots is an English actress and model. Nailed it.
I mean, I can pronounce gay pretty well, but Imogen and Poots. At the end of that movie, at that awkward moment, they get out and she's like doing a poetry reading or something. And he goes, "Well, what if the man," and they like talk hypothetically, but they're really talking about themselves, and it's the most rom-commy garbage. And I'm number one rom-com guy. Love
That
it.
awkward moment when Imagine Potts gets interrupted at a poetry reading. David Fear from the Rolling Stone, former home of Peter Travers,
Yes.
said, "You wish the movie wasn't content to be a feature-length meme and truly deserved what Cage is doing with this long, hard look in the funhouse mirror. The unbearable weight of massive talent is not unbearable by any means. It just should have been so much better." See, this I fucking agree with.
Yeah.
It doesn't lean it. It's just trying to be, hey, look at Nic Cage. Look at him doing meta stuff.
Yes.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah, do references, but don't make it tacky. Like, do
Right.
that as much as you can. Mention a whole bunch of movies. Like, I wrote down how many movies they didn't fucking mention in this thing.
Run through.
So, okay. So, the movies they mentioned 12 movies, indirectly or directly. They mentioned Moonstruck, Face Off 2 million times, Croods 2, The Rock, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, Deadfall, Con Air 1 million times, Guarding Test, Mandy, National Treasure, Gone in 60 Seconds. And apparently they also mentioned Wicker Man, the bees moment.
Yeah, they have the Not the Bees,
Yeah.
and then they have the Leaving Las Vegas pool thing,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So they have those things. It's about 12, 14 movies or so. These are the movies that I find to be, there's an entire other career that they miss skewering.
and they have. I think some of this stuff is probably going to wind up showing up in the shrine room to Nic Cage that Pedro Pascal's character has.
I really did a really good look at that, and there's not any like.
They have Raising Arizona in there.
Where's the Raising Arizona? What's that?
They have, I believe it's a poster.
They have a poster of National Treasure in that room for
They
sure.
have a Nic Cage. It's not a poster. It's the mugshot. I think it's his mugshot from Raising Arizona.
That's an important one. I think Raising Arizona is a.
How do you miss
terrific-
Raising Arizona?
That's-
You can't.
I
It's a
mean-
seminal Nic Cage movie.
Raising Arizona is one.
Yeah.
Pig, we talked about Pig. Honeymoon in Vegas. Lord of War, which is like before he went down that spiral of doing Bangkok Dangerous kind of thing.
05, 06?
It's got Jared Leto doing coke. He's selling stuff. He says, "What is it called? Selling guns, like for the first time, it's like having sex. You're scared
okay.
about it the whole time, but by the end, it happened so fast you don't even remember it."
They don't make a reference to the Weatherman.
No Weatherman, no Family Man. Is the Family Man another one?
Is he the Family Man?
I think that's
You're
Brett-
the one who's got the list in front of you.
the Brett Ratner's The Family Man. I think that's him in it. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Kick-Ass, Matchstick Men. Matchstick Men's a good movie.
Oh, Kick-Ass is a good movie too.
Yeah, Kick-Ass. He's Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass.
He is.
Drive Crazy, which I thought was actually that's like fun.
Drive Angry.
Drive Angry. Drive Angry.
Drive
I've heard
Angry 3D.
it. Drive Angry 3D with Johnny Depp's ex.
Amber Heard.
Yeah, she's the Voldemort of actresses now.
Oh,
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Never mentioned that. The Spider-Verse.
Oh, he is in Fast
Yeah.
Times.
Adaptation and Valley Girl. And those are just the movies that I've seen that I'm familiar with that I would.
There's also Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans, which I am shocked that you have not seen,
Yeah, I mean that's a long title.
but you got to see it.
Okay, Bad
It's-
Lieutenant of New Orleans.
I think it was almost rated NC-17. It's a ludicrous movie. It's got,
Is it NC-17? Why? Because of nudity?
yes.
Later tonight. Don't worry about it.
What's his name? Nicolas Cage, the guy we're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you please pull up the cast of this movie? He's got, because there's a movie called Bad Lieutenant with it's from years and years and years ago, right?
Yeah.
With Harvey Keitel, and this movie has nothing to do with that, and
Nice.
it's directed by Werner Herzog,
Okay.
and it's got I feel like Thomas Hayden Church is in this movie. Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans. Okay, here we go. Ava Mendes is Nicolas Cage's
Ooh.
wife in this movie. Look at this cast. Jennifer Coolidge, Val Kilmer, Brad Dourif. Exhibit is in this movie. Michael Shannon. I mean, this movie is fucking incredible.
That's not bad.
This movie is incredible. And it's like Nic Cage at his total wackadoo prime in terms of just like making choices as an actor that you would never see coming anywhere else, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of coke in this movie. He's like
know,
like breakdancing in this movie. This movie's nuts.
That's
I
what
love
they,
this movie.
That kind of it's either ethos, pathos, or logos. It's one of those three. That type of thing with Nic Cage, they try to get at in this movie in Unbearable Weight, and they just don't hit it. I just don't think that they get at what that perception of him is. The wild, crazy guy from Face Off or Con Air or whatever.
Right.
That's they just don't even get that to the point where it needs to be. And I think what we're dealing with is like you thought this movie was probably like a B- C+, and that was the disappointing thing. I think this movie is like a D minus. And that's like how I think there's just a bigger gulf of how to make this movie better.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that you basically hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I think this movie, I would give this movie, and I will give this movie 3 stars on Letterboxd later on. But I just feel, because I feel like it did enough, you know? Like, it did enough for me to not be like, this is a bad movie. It did enough for me to be like, yeah, I didn't hate this movie. I enjoyed it. But also... Yeah. I'm not gonna fucking seek it out again.
No, and
I'm probably gonna. I mean, I wouldn't say people shouldn't watch this movie, but I will say don't pay for it. Like, wait for it to show up on streaming for free. It's gonna show up on Netflix. It's gonna show, or whatever fucking streaming service Lionsgate is going to start eventually.
The OTT for Lionsgate. What's that gonna be called?
Oh,
LG.
God.
LG?
Roar Plus.
Roar Plus.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man.
Honestly, Nic Cage should just start his own streaming service.
Oh, I'm interested in that.
I would subscribe to the Nic Cage streaming service.
But he's done, like the one thing that he's cool about in the movie is he talks about the difference between like in acting, like in everywhere else, it's noble to work hard.
Yes.
And in acting, for some reason, that's bad.
Yeah.
And that is a very, very interesting point said by from the horse's mouth of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was great. And that gave me another 10 minutes of being like, oh, maybe this movie won't be so bad. And then it just fell off.
It just leaves so much on the table.
It really, and you don't want to do cinematic whataboutism, but there is a lot. If you're skewering a topic, there's a lot of topic to be done. The fact that you don't fucking mention taxes in an hour and 40-minute movie,
come on,
I mean, the fucking taxes are a big deal, and it's like, I guess. Do you think Nic Cage, because he's a producer on this movie, do you think he was like, you better fucking not talk about taxes? You better not talk about alcohol?
No, I feel like that's probably another thing that got cut.
You think so?
I feel like Nic Cage is pretty much an open book. And I feel like that there is a lot of meddling that happened in post on this movie from Suits that took some stuff out of this movie. As you know, we already talked about they took out some weirder stuff that I feel like we both agree would have made the movie better. I'm sure there's probably some other like meta stuff that might have gotten referenced. It probably got taken out because they're like, people don't care about numbers. People don't care about taxes. People don't want to hear about this thing that Nic Cage is already like famed and we already all know that Nic Cage has this issue.
We want to make an artificial caricature of this guy Nic Cage and like it could have been anybody else in this Nic Cage movie when I figured out they didn't have a kid. It doesn't matter. It could have been. Okay. You make this movie over, right? This same kind of movie, and you take out all the Majorca bullshit, fucking typical spy garbage, gobbledygook, get the fuck out of here. But you do a movie that's based on an actor and their career and how they deal with it.
Sure.
Who do you cast?
Well,
I spent a long time thinking about this with my own.
I mean, I can't think of somebody off the top of my head. Here's a movie that I've always wanted to see that does in that vein. Yeah. Is JCVD, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Yes.
I'm intrigued by it. I've only seen the trailer, but it seems like they kind of hit exactly what this is supposed to do.
Right. I mean, apparently there's like a 12-minute scene in that movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme, the character Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think gets shot and then goes into the clouds and does like a 12-minute monologue about his film career.
Oh, okay.
And then goes back to the movie.
Then he gets the light after 11 and they say, get the fuck out of here.
That sounds interesting, right? Like, I'm intrigued just to see just that alone.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember he got awards attention for that.
For JCVD?
For JCVD.
Yeah, well, I think this movie needs to be that, but it's a glossier version of that. And it's
the Hollywood version instead of the French art film version.
Very neutered version of it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I think... I mean, Jason Statham is still kind of a big guy. He'd be kind of interesting, but I don't think he's
too big.
As a personality, I don't think he's that interesting. You know, this is hypothetical, by the way. Don't have to be like, hey.
I'm trying to think of like.
He's in good.
Who would I want to see? I mean,
Keanu Reeves did this in Always Be My Maybe. He did do it. He like did the.
He was Keanu Reeves, right? Yeah. I mean, I would love to see like. I feel like Marissa Tomei would be interesting in a role like this.
Okay.
I feel like
she wears a lot of different hats. She's a very interesting actress.
She does. I feel like the thing is you got to go with an actor who wears a lot of different hats, who's all over the place. You know, Marissa Tomei has done very dramatic roles. She's done very silly roles that she won awards for.
Yeah.
And she's also a Marvel person.
Yeah, she's everywhere. She can do slapstick and anger management, and then turn it around and be whatever Aunt May, who died in the Spider-Man movie, this last Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
And boy, what the tension. Is she going to come back? They brought back half the population in fucking Avengers. Let's see. Is she really dead?
Didn't know where that was coming from.
That fucking okay. My thought was number one with a bullet. I'd be really interested to see Jim Carrey do a movie like this, where he talks about his early career and how zany he is, and where he's turned to now. Now, granted, he did Jim and Andy, which is a really interesting documentary.
That's right. He did do that.
That was really, really fascinating. But that's more talking about the process as opposed to like the celebrity of it.
Oh, you know who I would want to see actually? Brendan Fraser.
There we go. Now, do you know
we're about to have Brendan Fraser Renaissance?
Really? Yes, the Fraser-sance.
The Fraser-sance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a new movie coming out a couple new movies coming out this year.
The one you're about to mention is, I will assume, right up your fucking alley, and it's 100% up my alley too. The Whale.
The Whale.
Yes,
Yep.
100%.
I mean, he's already getting. I see people predicting awards attention for that.
Yeah.
Already, the Oscar prognosticators
Are doing that
That's a
shit?
fucking mouthful.
Oscar prognosticators.
Oscar prognosticators.
It's a nice little cottage industry, Oscar prognostication.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
doing pretty good. I'm excited to see that. Love Darren Aronofsky. I think Jim Carrey would be an interesting person. Brendan Fraser, legitimately great off the top of your head. Freddie Prinze Jr. I think that would be kind of
Oh
interesting.
yeah, sure.
Because he was a teen actor and now he's
He's a
kind of
Scooby
older.
Doo guy. He's a little older now.
Yeah, like he's
John Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo would be interesting, but he does so much that is like personal on the stand-up side that I think that he's kind of like shown his cards a little bit too much. Also, I think it's interesting to have somebody who could get a movie greenlit on their name and now can't.
I mean, Nicolas Cage can get a movie.
Still,
greenlit
yeah,
on
he can
his
still.
name, though.
He
That's
literally,
the
this is that
downside.
movie.
Yeah.
This is that movie.
This is that movie. He's a movie star. God damn it! And
Yes.
You didn't treat him like the strange movie star he is.
Yes.
You fucking amateurs,
You know what
Tom
fucking-
Gormican.
You know what's fucking hilarious is that fucking they got Neil Patrick Harris, who they got for like 13 hours in this fucking movie. Like
Yeah.
he's in two
They shot
scenes.
all scenes in a day.
Yeah, they're like, hey,
In and
FBH,
out.
you got kids, I understand. But he is more interesting playing himself in Harold and Kumar than fucking Nic Cage is playing Nic Cage in Nic Cage movie.
Right. Well,
Like
because
his-
he's playing the most pitched up version of himself in Harold and
Yeah.
Kumar.
Why don't you just fucking do that? Unbearable weight of massive talent. Also,
Should have done it.
get a better fucking name.
It's too long.
The fact that sounds like a short story that somebody at fucking Fordham wrote.
And nobody ever says the unbearable weight of massive talent in the movie.
No, and that's a
Stupid.
very
That's a
important
very-
Nic Cage thing that you got to say the name in it.
This is, if ever there was a title for a movie that you should have said the title, you should have said the movie in whatever. They don't say it. Yourgo, I'm pissed.
Yeah, well, you know what they should have done? They should have called the movie Nick effing with all of them bleeped out Cage.
Yes.
That's now I'm showing up to that movie, and then I'm still gonna get disappointed. But
I'll still get disappointed, but you know what? I'm not going to be like, wow, this movie's going to be something. It's going to say something. It doesn't have anything to say.
not even like a small. Apparently, you should care about your kids, is what it's supposed to say. You're supposed to
Shocker.
care about your kids instead of your career, even though your career is putting them through fucking college. And also, there's a thing about Nic Cage. Nic Cage turned down The Matrix and turned down Lord of the Rings to hang out with his kids.
Yes.
So what the fuck are we doing here? Like, that's not Nic Cage. It could have been anybody. It could have
I
been
don't know.
fucking, I don't know.
I don't know. Yourgo, I'm glad that we have a movie that we agreed on this time. Even though we didn't really fully agree on it, we got there.
Yeah.
We have more agreement on this. There's not as much of a gulf between us as there was on Swiss Army Man.
A top 20 movie of all time, Swiss Army Man. Daniel Radcliffe farting and them trying to achieve some kind of thematic end and then just
So much more
bailing
to
on
it.
it.
This isn't. I'm not going to
There's
relitigate
so
this
much.
with you.
No, it's okay. This unbearable weight of massive talent. Honestly, this movie could have been so like I wish they would have figured out like a formula to do this movie in, and then just pop in new celebrities because I find it very interesting. Like I love This Is the End. I think This Is the End is really cool.
Yeah.
I think supernatural elements of it suck, but I think watching people play versions of themselves is very
fun.
intriguing.
I
to me.
enjoyed it.
And I think that's valuable, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's frankly could be a really good PR move in a lot of ways. And I don't know why more people don't do it. And I can now see after this movie why people don't do it because you
Now we
look
got
like
it.
fucking shit,
Yeah.
and you have just squandering Pedro Pascal. 2 movies in a row I watched this guy. I love this guy.
Disappointment.
He's-
Disappointment up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do I have any other? Do you have any other last thoughts? Are you thinking about anything else?
No, I think I'm thinking about wrapping up, dude.
Wrap-
We've hit the unbearable weight of talking about this movie for too long.
Yeah, I'm fucking. Yeah, I don't got nothing. I don't got nothing else. I wrote notes like a dork. I thought this was the movie was a 95. It has the depth of a 95-minute Entourage cameo. That's what I do. I mean, that's probably pretty accurate.
Accurate.
The I think I'm good. I think you need to watch Adaptation again and see what a really good
You
thing
need to
is.
watch Adaptation
That
again.
shit's
And you need to watch Port of Call New Orleans. Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans.
yes. And more than anything, you need to get somebody on this fucking podcast to talk about Serenity so you can watch Serenity.
I mean, I could just watch Serenity.
This has been a hanging recommendation for like 2.5 years. You got to watch Serenity. It is the most baffling movie you'll ever watch.
I mean, there's a lot of movies that I haven't seen.
The Serenity one, you got big stars. It's
never
beautiful.
seen-
You get to go to the island.
I've never seen
you know?
Jaws.
Never seen Jaws?
No.
I love the blind spots for moviegoers are always very interesting. Like, I've never seen E.T.
What?
Yeah, well, fucking, you haven't seen Jaws, dickhead.
You haven't seen E.T.?
What the fuck are you talking about?
At least E.T.'s like
Yeah.
a movie that you probably would have seen as a child.
Jaws was literally the biggest movie of all time.
I wasn't even a fucking glint in my dad's eye in
Oh
the
yeah,
70s.
because I was fucking bored before 1981 to see fucking the extraterrestrial, to see fucking a piece of shit
but
with
at least
eyeballs walking around.
I had E.T. on VHS as a child.
Double? I'm sure there was two. Or
No,
is
it was a single.
Oh, single.
Titanic's the only one that was double VHS.
Braveheart, I think, also was one of them.
Well, we didn't have Braveheart. Too violent for my
then-
household.
Oh yeah. Then you have there's a castration scene at the end. Then there was the orange VHSs, which was a lot of fun. The
Nickelodeon ones. Yeah, like Rugrats the movie and Rugrats in Paris. And Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which I think we had on DVD.
Yes.
Yes,
I was Jimmy Neutron. I'm out. Can't do it.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, Yourgo, where can people find you on the internet if they wanna tell you that Nic Cage deserved better also, because he did.
He did. All my handles are the same. It's at Yourgo, spelled EAUX instead of an O. That's it. Yeah, hit me up and I will talk to you.
There you go. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, at Blockbusting Pod for the podcast's social media. Why am I having such a hard time saying stuff?
Are you drunk?
No,
Okay.
I don't even.
There's no excuse then.
There's no excuse.
Yeah.
And tell a friend, subscribe, join the Patreon. Why don't you? You get a bonus content for $1 a month, and you get to support the fine staff of this podcast, because there is a staff now, and we got to pay them.
Yes. They're terrific.
And I haven't paid them yet, and I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Because, well, that's the thing. This is the thing. The more things grow, the more of an enterprise it becomes. And guess what? You got to scale up. Anyway, that's for another pitch. I'm pointing directly at the camera for that one. I'm pointing back at you. Thanks again, Yourgo.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks
I
again.
appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited. I'll talk to you periodically about other movies I fucking hate.
I will happily have those conversations with
Yeah,
you.
sure. We'll talk about Thor in a couple weeks or
Well,
something.
dude,
like
I gotta see fucking the multiverse guy. I gotta see Dr. Multiverse, and then we can talk about that.
Yeah, you get to watch a fucking 2-hour movie where everybody's not acting around anybody else. It's just everybody who shot individual scenes. Nobody came together.
You mean the future of filmmaking?
It's that with deep fakes and just fucking, it's a fucking cartoon, these Marvel movies. Like, knock this fucking shit off. It makes me so mad. I don't. But then, this is why this movie is specifically disappointing, is that you pine for original ideas, and then when an original idea comes around, it's a bucket of fucking shit.
I wouldn't even call this an original idea.
Oh, well, it is. It's not an IP, right? I guess that's
an
the better way to-
unoriginal idea, but they just put Nic Cage in there instead of being. It's an action comedy, but instead of starring Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock,
Yeah.
it's got Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I guess our only person that we can hope for, or the only people, are the Safdie brothers, the Daniels.
That's it. That's all we got.
And whoever fucking Adam Sandler wants to work with.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much our only hope for original content?
That's all we got. Anyway, this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.